Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Ozcast.
Okay, Rachel, are you ready to go?
Yes.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I thought you knew.
Phil, aren't you supposed to be running the show? Which guest have we got?
Don't make me the boss of stuff.
You're the boss of stuff.
Let's wing it.
And go.
Hi, welcome to the This Is My Voice podcast.
The podcast where we discuss all things voice performance and talk to some of the industry's best and brightest talent.
We're your hosts, Rachel Salas
And Eddie Bye.
Our next guest is quite the performer with a huge following from her podcast, The Beautiful Nightmare, and countless voice roles and a killer voice too. Can you please welcome Tamara Linke?
Hey. Hi, guys. Nice to see you.
Yay, we've got someone in the studio.
Inside the studio, the fabulous studio.
Yes, well, I don't know. It's a world first, and so I think we've got half a chance of things are going to work today.
Is it a world first? Is this the first one?
Yes.
This is the first one in studio.
In real life?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, honoured.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Well, I hope it's good.
Yay! Well, we do too.
Well, like, why wouldn't it be?
So I have to admit, I was a little bit nervous to have you on the show today because not only are you an extremely talented voice actor, but you've got an award-winning podcast called The Beautiful Nightmare with the lovely Chanel Franklin.
Yeah.
So for us podcast newbies, it's a tad intimidating. So we're like,
No, it's not at all.
How do you do a podcast? Can you let us know?
You're doing amazing. Come on, I've listened to some of them. Yeah. No, it's good actually. We won the best comedy podcast last year in Australia.
Yes.
In Australia, in all of Australia, and we didn't even go to the ceremony. So there you go. We were on FaceTime. We had actually Sean and Mina from Everyday Conspiracy Theories podcast, and they had us on FaceTime and took us up on stage. And Kate Langbrook gave us the award via FaceTime, but we beat her too. A little bit awkward. She went,
What up?
oh no.
No, I'm totally kidding.
Oh,
Gotta
my
be
God.
profesh.
Yes, profesh, always.
Have you found creating a podcast, has that helped you become a better voice performer?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it's two completely different things, personally, I think. Podcasting. I think it helps you be a better... I think the voice acting probably helps with the podcasting, potentially. I think from a perspective that you're used to listening to yourself, a lot of people who start podcasts, the first thing they've got to get over is listening to their voice and then the editing. So I know how to edit. I know how to do all this other stuff that helps us already get in front when, like you guys have, right, with doing a podcast. So I'd say that helps, probably not from technically a vocal perspective, but from all the other stuff that you have in your kit, it does help. So but I think they are two different styles of, I mean, one's having a conversation depending on your podcast and what you're doing, or having interview skills, and then the other is acting.
Yeah, like I'm acting like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, acting. Fake it till you make it. What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you got to do. Absolutely. Yeah, because nobody knows that you're faking it. And the only way you get better at things is by practice. And I think most of the people we've spoken to so far, they pretty much do the same thing. They just fluff around and then they suddenly get paid for it. And that's kind of how it works for most voice artists.
Well, it's like with anything, isn't it? Right? And you've got to keep failing and then keep trying, so you learn, and this is what it is. Yeah. So, absolutely. I think Paul Newman even said that. I think he was like 75 and he said, I've been faking it this whole time. Someone's going to find me out. And he's been acting and he's won awards and he's been in all the movies, and you think, wow, okay. Even people like that, they still feel that inferiority complex.
Yes.
So with your podcast, The Beautiful Nightmare, speaking of motherhood, so is voicing a role on a children's show more rewarding when you can share it with your children and have your kids seen your work?
They've seen it. So mostly I've done gaming, and it's usually for adults. They can't really play those games. So I've done a couple of things where they've seen it. I think, I don't know if they're that impressed because they know it's me. And I think they're used to me doing voices all the time at home or singing. They almost become desensitized to it. Like they're kind of like, oh, are you doing that? Okay. And then they get on with their day. Like they're not that impressed. I think it's more their friends. Like if this often happens. We're driving my friends' kids to like basketball or something. We'll be in the car and I'll start singing or making up a stupid rhyme or doing a voice, and my kids are like, whatever. And this kid sitting in the back going, your family's crazy. Like, they're like, what is going on? Like, they're blown away because this is not their normal, right?
No.
So, and you forget that you do that. And then I think your family kind of just go along with it. They don't know any different. So, so I don't think they're that impressed with me. No. They're like, Mum, shut up. Stop talking. Stop singing.
I'm not a regular mum. I'm a cool mum.
Well, debatable. When they're teenagers, it'll be a different story. It'll be like, shut up, Mum. You're embarrassing me.
How old are your kids?
10 and 8.
10 and 8, yeah. So mine are 12 and 14.
Yeah, you're at that stage.
But you know what? They're fine now. Like, actually, my eldest came in here the other day with her friends. It was that 45-degree day. They decided not to go to school. And they wanted to swim in the pool. So they've come in. They go, this is what my dad does, and I'm working away. And they're like, whoa. And then my wife overheard them. She goes, so your dad, like, actually talks on the radio? It's like, that is so cool. And I thought, you know what? For like a 14-year-old, I would have thought they would not give a stuff anymore. Like, you know, back in the 90s, our radio was really cool. But I didn't even think that they would know what radio was. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's so bizarre. But yeah, it's funny, the magic of it. And like, yeah, I mean, I do all the silly voices and that sort of stuff. And my family's used to it. But like, you know, their friends are like, what did he just say? You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
We do that.
Yeah, we do that. I do that. Dad does that. Dad does stupid voices. It makes no sense at all. Yeah.
That's absolutely. But you've got all the gear too, so that looks very cool. Like, to a teenager, that whole setup is like, wow,
like
your dad.
Spaceship in here.
Yeah, your dad has an audio spaceship. Look at it.
An audio spaceship. If I only knew how to work it, it would be good.
What do they say? All the gear, no idea.
That's me.
Oh, it's
That's
not.
me.
That's not true at all. That's not true at all.
Hey, let's talk about. I want to talk about. I'm not going to read these questions. Because I never do.
Oh,
Rachel does all the work. But I'll peruse them later. We can cut this out. Now, let's talk about how you started, because we've worked together for decades, right? You know, and I can remember, you know, working with you when you were just getting into it. And I feel like your career from those, what was it, 10 years ago when we were starting out together, from then till now has just gone kapow. Right? Massive. Tell me about that process. What happened?
Well, I think it's a long slog. So it's all of the work you do beforehand. Well, you guys know. Well, I went to the conservatorium and studied classical singing, opera singing. So I was always doing like opera, cabaret, writing and producing my own stuff in plays, all this sort of stuff. And then I realised when I was a bit older, in probably my late 20s, that I should get a grown-up job, like start doing something hardcore. I'd finished doing lots of study. And I had some boring job in an office where I got paid pretty well. I thought, oh, this is good. I think I was just acting half the time. Like, I was trotting around in the little outfits and, you know, like George Costanza in Seinfeld, where he like opens his case at the beginning of the day and then closes it off at the end. It's like, well, that's a busy day. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I did that for a few years. But it was kind of soul destroying. You're like, what am I doing? Am I going to do this job that I'm not passionate about for the next, 20 years? I was like, nah. And I think it was Sean's radio school. I saw that they were obviously doing a course, and I just helped out a colleague with a training program where I needed to do some navigation voiceover. They got me to do that. I thought, this is quite fun. Like, we set up, it was really simple setup, and had Audacity, and we just sat and did this whole navigation program. And I thought, I kind of like this, you know, doing this whole thing, and found out voiceover is a real job. But I thought, radio, that'll be cool. So went and did the radio school. I worked at Fresh for a while, Fresh FM. And then I ended up at Nova doing Weekend Breakfast. And then I kind of realised, because I would do a couple of voiceovers here and there for you and for other people at Fresh, and here and there at home, with a giant mattress that I had up against the wall, on my own dynamic mic, which actually was not the appropriate mic to be using for voiceover, like a singing mic, and doing some random voiceovers. And then I kind of realised I don't think radio's for me either, because of the bit of the red tape. I kind of wanted to talk about what I wanted to talk about, not be told what to talk about. Right? And I was kind of like, maybe this is not what I want to do. So I thought, I'll try voiceovers. I'll do voiceovers. And I worked for my husband for a bit too, so that was okay. So I had time to do my own voiceover stuff. So I started there, and I would start on like voices.com, like online platforms, And then I did some message on hold, and you'd hear about from people in the business in Adelaide what was going on, who to talk to. I just started hustling from there. Then I had kids in the process, so it was a good thing you could do at home. We moved house, and I had a booth in my son's bedroom. So I would pop in there in my pajamas and do voiceovers, and he'd be asleep and then he'd wake up and I'd come out. And so, I thought, well, this is not really working. So after a while, it's basically hustling. It was a lot of freelancing. Yeah. And I did that, juggled that with kids, and then, grew from there, and then got my own studio and bang, just kept going. Yeah. That's brings me to where I am here now on this couch.
Brilliant, on the casting couch. It's funny because I coach, budding voiceover artists, and they always say, well, what do I do? And I just go, just keep going.
Keep going.
Because while you keep going, someone else has given up, and then you move up a rung. And ultimately, and I know this sounds a bit depressing, it's like you don't have to be natural at being a good voiceover artist. You just need to practice. You'll get better and better as time goes on. And if you keep practicing, other people will just give up, and then you're next in line, and you make that new connection to someone who will make a connection with someone else, and then before you know it, work's coming, and you just get better and better and better. Whereas if you don't, you won't. It's as simple as that. And it's like I always say to my artists, no one's a natural. Just keep trying. And I've seen people that I've coached, I'm like, oh, they're a bit no good. But they've just kept on going, and then they sort of pop up and they're doing lots of work, and you go, oh, look at you. And I said, it's simple. Like the rules I have with voiceovers is I always ask my students, I go, okay, I ask you 2 questions. Are you literate? Like, can you pretty much just read? Do you have to read well? Can you read? And they go, yeah. And they'll put their hands up. And I go, do you have a voice? Can you speak? And they all go, yeah, well, they put their hands up. I go, great, you're in. And that's it. That's all you actually need. Everything else you have to learn along the way. You just need to be able to barely read and have a voice, and you are good to go. And it doesn't even matter what voice it is. That's the thing, because we want all different voices.
Now it's so much better like that, isn't it? The more unique is just be you, authentic. That's what everyone wants. Yeah. And it's also lots of training as well. Like I've worked with loads of different coaches in lots of different areas from all over the world, so and at my cost, obviously. So to do that and working on demos and changing it up all the time and adding things in and asking for feedback, and you never stop learning, really. So
you don't, definitely not. So your vocal coach, because you have done a bit of that, can you tell us about who they are and what you got from each one? Because everyone's a bit different. You don't have to name names, but what did you learn? Because they're all so different. Everyone does it differently. That'd be really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, you do. That's the funny thing. You do get conflicting. Well, not conflicting. I think it's like any sort of teacher you have for whatever you're interested in. It doesn't have to be voiceover. You take a little bit from that person and go, that works for me, a little bit from this person. So I worked with an animation actress in Los Angeles, and I think we worked in the same way. So very, I don't know, it's all from an acting kind of background. So it's working out things like a pre-life to a character. So how to create a character and what resonates with you. And how you go about that. So, for example, if you're going to, you see a picture of a bug and they want a voice for it. And this bug is described as, I want a 10-year-old bug. It's a boy. He's a bit scrappy and knows what he wants. And they give you a little synopsis. Then you got to work out how does that bug sound? How does a bug sound, right? Bring your own interpretation. And a lot of people would say, okay, look at people in your life who you've met along the way and create like a little catalogue of people, and you can pull out of your kit any old time that you can draw from. So maybe you got a crazy neighbour, who's always like, oh God, for crying out loud, you've painted the fence red again. I hate it, and you think, oh, Beryl, she's a pain in the ass, but what a character. Keep that in your head, or your friend's little kid who's got a little lisp and he's like this and he's like, marbles in his mouth, and you're like, oh, that's a cool voice that kid's got. So you're drawing on all those things, and I think to create a character, you are inspired by people and things around you. Or even like this is quite helpful. If you can imitate a famous person, but not necessarily very well, that's a good way of creating a new voice, right? Yeah. So, even if I did Donald Trump, I'm not going to sound like him because I'm a chick. But if I kind of talk like this the whole time, suddenly I've got a new voice, because I'm kind of using his lips and his style and his cadence and so all of that kind of thing. So this, Laurie Allen, who I worked with in LA,
is she from Family Guy?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The Laurie Allen.
Yeah. So now she's a great friend of mine, and I went and met her last year when I was in Los Angeles, and I worked with casting directors. So gaming, you can learn all sorts of stuff. Combat noises. So there's a whole thing, a formula to combat in games, and how you kick, and then climbing up a wall in a game. You know how you do that?
Like,
almost.
How do you climb up a wall?
Oh and then you fall down, and then you fall down harder.
Wow, that's so
it's
cool.
the whole thing. Or get shot, and then there's the ultimate explosion, which was a good one because that's like a. It's got to have a wet sound.
Oh, wow.
You get to be a big kid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's playing. It's a lot of playing and improv as well.
Yeah, cool.
So that's just those side of things.
Oh, sorry. It reminds me of the movie In a World where you were saying before having the sound kind of library for reference. So taking references from everyone around you. It's really, really helpful. And I just instantly thought of that movie where she's like, can I borrow your voice though for my sound library?
Yeah, it is exactly that. And to draw those inspirations, so just keeping your ears open all the time, like, or even copying something off the TV, because your interpretation of that is going to sound different to that one, It's not really helpful being like the 100th guy that can imitate Christopher Walken. Like, no one needs that voice. But if you can do your own version, maybe take parts of that and then turn it into some, you can create a whole different character. Well, I don't know. That was terrible.
No, that was great.
That was good.
That's what we want. We want people having fun and on the couch and not just a serious interview. Very sensible people here.
Well, all three of us are on the couch at the moment. It's a two-seater, so it's very tight.
It is.
So for visual images.
And we're turning from left to right.
It's like a game of tennis.
Got an armpit in my eye.
But that's all the animation stuff. And then there's commercial stuff as well. So that's a whole different game, which you all know about.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my sort of forte, really, the commercial stuff. And everyone is a bit different, but, and I think you're probably much the same, where I'm just an everyday person. And I often say to artists as well, this is what I often say to people, but that basically being a bit generic in commercials is actually a good thing. So, without naming names, but I'm on two businesses in the same category in this market, but they're two different voices altogether, and they're just so different that I have no dramas getting away with it, and I really like that because you just go, because generally you just go, oh, that's a bit iffy. If the other client found out, they'd be a bit stroppy, but you just go, no. And even when I was cast for it, they go, but you do the blah blah blah, and I said, yeah, but that one's like, I'm yelling in that one, and this one's more softer and blah 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 blah, and they're like, all right, no worries, and I'm like, great. This is good, and that's the best thing about. And I mean, that's why I love it. Well, yeah, and I mean, one client I do like every 2 or 3 years, and one I do every 4 weeks probably, right? So you go, well, I know which one I want to keep, obviously. But yeah, and I love that about, that's the best thing. But you also got to play within your envelope of what you can do as well. And, I think there's always room to play. And I love acting in commercials. I mean, I don't do any acting outside of that. But yeah, in commercials, I love doing that because you can just go, I can do whatever I like here. Like I did a job, when did I do a job? Monday? Tuesday? And it was for, I probably can't name the client, but it's a client that's rather irreverent, and I didn't know how irreverent they wanted me to be. And then they go, oh, well, let's just amp up that character. I'm like, okay, no worries. And one of the lines was, I was like on this dispatch, and the guy goes, oh, dispatch, can you confirm that? And I go, yeah, that's okay. And I'm like, and this voice was like, they were going, yeah, but you're like subservient to this guy. Like, he's the big sergeant and he wants, to tell you the information. I'm like, okay. So I go, yeah, okay, no worries. And then he goes, no, more. And I'm like, yeah, no worries, okay. And it was just this thing, and it was like my voice broke halfway through it, and it was just funny. I was just like, And they were all laughing, going, that's what we want. And I'm like, really? I didn't know we wanted to go that far. So I can always go that much further, right? But you just go, well, how far do you want me to go? And sometimes directors don't push you up to that level. And I was just like, but they did. And because they just cacked themselves, I'm like, all right, this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. I'll do that.
That's right. You can only go in and based on what they give you, especially for commercial reads. Sometimes you get hardly anything. And then other times it'll be quite helpful. So you read it, okay, this is my interpretation of that. But then the whole point of a session is, like you said, for them to tell you, all right, can we have like 10% more energy on that or take it down a little more chesty, and then interpreting what they mean, especially if they're like an ad agency or the client who has no idea.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
And they're like, oh, can you make that a bit more high but sad? And you're like, I think I know what they mean, but they don't mean that.
Yeah.
High but sad.
Reading between the lines. It's hard, isn't it? Like that's the hard thing. And I think, I'm a director as well as talent, right? So I give direction all the time. And so I think I give very good direction. But I'll often say to the talent, I'll be like, can you do X, Y, and Z? And then they'll go, yeah. And I said, yeah, and I said, I'm probably making a bit of a hash of what I'm saying. Like, do you know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, I think so. And then we have a take, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And it's really good because good artists, they know they can read between the lines, right? So that's terrific. But if you give them like really weird direction, like, oh, that was a bit like mauve, I'm still thinking more of a magenta in your take. Or go, in this next take, can you pretend you're driving on a cliff-top road with the airs running through your hair and you're wearing a jumper around your shoulders, And I'm like,
I had that the other day.
Yeah. And you just go, all right, no worries. And
Tad ambiguous, but sure, we'll give it a go.
Well, that's the thing. And I'm like, I always say to people, like, it's okay to ask. You go, do you mean X, Y, and Z? So you put it into your words, and then they'll go, yeah, that's what I mean. Because often, like you said, some directors can be quite inarticulate because you're often dealing with the writer, who's often a brilliant writer. But the best thing about a writer is they're often not people persons, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of like in their own world and they write a great story and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to actually talking to a human being about how to perform that, they're not great. So you can often go back and go, what do you mean by that? And it actually it breaks down that rapport because otherwise you sit there just going, I don't know what he means by that, but I'll give it a go,
See, I know. And a good tip for copywriters too is to read their words out loud is helpful because really a lot of the times you'll get in there, well, not a lot of the time, sometimes, and you'll go, I'm Ron Burgundy, am I reading this just as it is? There's a question, is there meant to be a comma there or a question mark?
Yeah. That's the perfect analogy with it because you don't know what inflections to put on the script. And I've worked in a marketing agency where I would give 5 examples of the same line and I'd be like, is this working for you? Because I always joke, I'm a insecure little B word. I even do that with Eddie. I'm like, is this what you wanted? I'm really not sure. I've got an idea of what you want for the script, but I'm not certain. So I much rather give you variety and you give me guidance on that so we can have a bit of an experimental session. Yeah. Though if they're not really specific, they're just like, I just want you to roll with it and do your thing. I'm like, that's not really giving me much. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to try with a couple inflections here. Do you find this better or this better? Though I think just hearing it, that saying where people are more visual. Yes. Though where you draw a diagram for them and they're like, yes, I get it. It's like that though. If they hear it, they're like, yeah, that's what I mean though. Yeah. So I've found that helpful though. Not that I'm a professional voice artist though.
Oh, you do lots of silly voices.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, we want to hear them.
I can do the burger flipper from The Simpsons, except with a female twang, kind of like what you did.
Oh yeah,
that's what that voice is based on.
Mr. Wazowski, help!
Yeah, that's good. You go, it's happened again. You know, that is.
I love that guy with the pimples. Yeah, I know
And he
the
puts
one.
his hand in the deep fry and goes, oh,
Yeah.
oh. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, that's what that voice is based on. This is what Tamara and I are talking about. It's like, I love that guy because his voice breaks all the time. Yeah. And I go, I don't know, I love it. So that's what I tapped into is that guy. I'm like, I don't sound like that guy. And that's the beauty of voiceover acting is like,
You can be anyone.
you can copy whoever you like, but you'll never sound like that person, right? No matter how hard you try, it's always your version of it. So there's no plagiarism in voiceovers, right? You're not really ever copying someone. You really are kind of learning what they're doing and taking on the little bits that they're doing. And it might just be the structure, like the pace and the cadence or the breathing or the tone or whatever it might be. And then you have no choice but to make it your own. So that's what I love about voices is you can listen to the best in the world and you'll get better by copying them, but you'll never sound like them. So you'll just get better.
Like your Jennifer Coolidge ad you did with the dishwasher.
Yes.
You do a very good Jennifer Coolidge.
I just did that, yeah. And I actually wondered because the company that did it, this ad, where I played a dishwasher, they wanted Jennifer Coolidge. And I actually wonder if they asked her and she didn't want to do it because this same studio recently did ads with Ryan Reynolds and Oprah Winfrey and Kevin Hart. And now me. I mean, they were on the screen. I wasn't. I'm just the voice. Yeah, but it was this, and they wanted me to sound like Jennifer Coolidge. So, but I found with that, so yes, trying to match the voice as best as you can, but also it's capturing that person's the personality and what type of person are they, so you can apply that as well to anything else that you're doing, I think. So are they, she's always exasperated and worried and oh God, like, oh God, I'm just trying to get through life and and then sometimes she can be really well, I don't like it, she's kind of confident, yeah, but then she's down on herself and it goes slow and so she's a very interesting, I love those characters that just have so many dimensions to them. Yeah, 1 minute they're this, then they're that, and it's all over the shop, it's really good.
Can we get I'm keeping the dog dumbass?
I'm keeping the dog dumbass. You look like the 4th of July.
Makes me want to have a hot dog real bad.
Oh God, she just wants to get in there and eat a little alive. Yeah, she's got so many interesting sides to her. She's so fun. So there's a lot of different characters that you can imitate. You can go up and then down again, and then she's angry, and then Harlequin. 1 minute she's gonna chop your head off.
Pull it in.
Yeah.
She talks as if, like Margot Robbie said, you've got to have for the Boston or the New Jersey
Long
accent.
Island, New Jersey,
kind of thing.
yeah.
You've got to put your nails out as if you've just done them and get your hair did and your nails done.
Yeah.
See, I'm a little off. I'm just
yeah, that's right.
With the New Yorker.
And that's part of it too, is to really use your body. Not too much because you can make sounds. I have a bad habit of, whacking the mic and, yeah.
There was a really good video from...
Sorry, anyone from...
No. There was a really good video from Hank
Azaria. I saw it. How good was that?
Yeah, and he talked about the physicality of it, but you see it with voice actors, and even with you, your face changes, your shoulders change, yeah, your body changes. And no, but that's the whole point, right? People think it all comes out of here, but it doesn't. It comes from your entire body. And it was a good little video, actually. We should put that up on the socials or something, but it's really good.
It's breathing soul into the character, though, which is so important because it gets the audience invested. And we've discussed this with other talent that we've had on the show, because you need to have that soul to it. So even if it's just a minor character, like Billy West had, like Seymour, this beautiful little dog waiting around for Fry for all these years, and he eventually died of old age. And I'm like, why am I crying hysterically from this cartoon? This dog just goes ruff, ruff, and you're just like, why am I just completely lost it?
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible what animation can do with a good voiceover actor.
That's right, yeah. And it comes back to acting. Like you said, you're using your body. And that's how you get into it. Well, some people do get into a character if you're on stage or whatever you're doing. You have that physicality that goes with it. So helps you get into it. I think of it as sometimes putting that, this is going to sound weird, putting that person's sort of head on, or the mask of that person on. Okay. So I feel like my head is them talking. Yeah. I visually think of that in my head. Yeah. So then that's when your face starts to contort like them, or yeah, I don't know. This is what I do.
No, that's great. That's good. I'd like to think about it like that.
Yeah, because you've got acting background. I've got a really weird thing that actually helps me get into the zone. And I don't know if this works for you because you mentioned obviously the head, of the character. It's like you're putting on the mask and stuff. Yeah. I find it as a buffer, for who I am. Like when I'm doing my own voice behind the mic, got producer mode where I'm trying to get this right, and I put so much pressure on myself, and then I stumble over my words. I'm like, try and pretend you're a voiceover presenter that actually knows their shit, and they're the character you're trying to play, and that's what I find a bit better because you feel like you're not quite yourself, but you're playing a role, and you feel a bit more invincible about that.
Absolutely, I do that as a parent every day. Let's pretend we know what we're doing.
Yay! We got it all under control.
Absolutely. And again, it's like the fake it till you make it. Oh, I am good at this. And if you need to be a different version of yourself for that moment, then why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Acting's a funny one because if I say to you, Rachel, okay, I want you to be this character and act it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's got to be in here, right? And I'm pointing to my heart, right? It's got to be inside you. If you're thinking, I am this character, you're not. Right.
Yeah.
But when you actually are the character, that's when it actually really comes to life.
It's the connection.
Yeah. So and I find when I do reads as a character or any reads at all, for that sort of 30 minutes or 45 minutes or however long there I'm in the studio, I could have had a terrible day. I could be, in all kinds of trouble at home with the wife or whatever and blah, 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 and a lot weighing on my head, a lot of stuff going on. But for that period, that gets fully shelved, 100% gone. And I can play and have fun and get invigorated and energised by what's going on and have a terrific time. The moment that door shuts and I walk out of the studio, bang, it all comes back again, right?
Hello, Eddie.
Yeah, that's it. You go, hey, guess what? Your wife's angry at you because you leave the toilet seat up or whatever it might be. But, I truly believe that. And I think that's when you actually become the character and you forget who you are. Another little phrase I use is forget who you are and focus. And what that means is just leave yourself behind, leave all your baggage behind, forget all about that and focus on what you're doing right now and get engrossed in those words, and then the magic just happens and you just fly away and do your thing. And an hour session can feel like it goes for a minute, it goes so fast because you're having a terrific time and, everyone's on the couch all tired and buggered because you're on take 55, but you're like, yeah, let's do that. Let's try it like that. Let's go.
And everyone's in synchrone and go, oh,
yeah,
come on, Ed.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's just kind of but then the moment you walk out, and I think that's when you know that you're really nailing it, I think, because it's like, it doesn't require any effort. It sort of flows through you. Yeah. Whereas sorry, I do a lot of talking about me in this podcast. Sorry about that. But I did a bit of acting for TV commercials, and I was just so bad at it. I couldn't even walk properly.
Do you have these on tape?
No.
I need to see this.
No.
You were too in your head, wondering what am I doing?
I am the character. And I was just like, yeah, but I'm like, I just go, how do I even walk now? And it's just like, you idiot, just walk. It's not hard.
I know. But you get too in your head, I think, because you're like, what do I look like? What am I doing? Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, and you just go, and that's it. And then it's just all ruined. Whereas, you put yourself behind a mic, and like you said, you can do it in your pajamas or whatever, and you just have a lot of fun.
Exactly.
I'll sit in here and do voiceovers, and it's like, the people don't even see you half the time.
He's naked, actually, as we speak.
Yeah, that's right. On the couch, completely naked. It's brilliant. It's working out really well. So there you go. Sorry about that. I didn't know you guys were actually coming into the studio today. So there you go.
But a bit of advice someone told me once, especially with character reading, is if you've never said these lines before. This is the first time you are saying this as a person would, so don't make it sound like you've rehearsed it and you're about to say it perfectly, right? Different to commercial reads and things like that, but to an extent. But yeah, just that whole, it's got to be fresh. It's got to be a new thought all the time. So it is important to understand the character before. What are they doing before they start talking? Where were they before? So I like that whole idea of a pre-life, they call it, where you just get in there and you start improvising. So you've got this weird bug and you're like, gee, it's a really hard day today. Oh, far out. I can't find any food. And then, and then you kind of go into the script from that, or even if you want to talk about yourself, like, I'm a little bug and I'm this years old and my best mate's called Maddie and blah, blah, blah. And we love flying through the sky and whatever. You write yourself a little pre-life and you do it and then you go into it, as opposed to going from nothing to Oh,
Here's the script.
Here's the script. I'm a bug.
But you wouldn't write it down.
No.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, you tap into that, right? And then, like, you know, like a voice actor would just go, I really like that. And they would secretly go home and practice that voice. That's what they would do. They would go, I really like that. Because you hear those voices and you go, ooh, that's a good one. I like that one. Let's figure out how I can make that one happen, you know, and just go, it's like, Miss, oh, and this kid's drawing out all his vowels, right? That's it. Eddie, don't.
It's like the Yorkshire accent, the longer vowels, like, you know, with Wallace. Like, he was just like, cheese. Like, it's like, I think it was Will Anderson, though, said, like, you could always tell Australians overseas because it's like this light fly buzzing sound. It's like,
yeah, right.
In the background.
Well, you know why we do that? You know, here's a little nugget of information for you. Do you know why Australians are world-renowned for not opening their mouth properly when they speak? Do you know why?
Because of the flies?
Because of the flies. Did you know that?
I think I did, yeah.
Russell Crowe kind of like...
Yeah, that's right. We like, you know, particularly farmers. Yeah, so that's it. So it's one of those things. And whereas a voiceover artist, we open our mouth as much as we possibly can. We use it a lot.
Swallow loads of flies and bugs.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's not that many flies in the booth with you. Yeah. But it's true. And that changes the way people sound. So they often flatten out their mouth rather than open it up. And so that makes a flatter sound rather than an open ah sound. It's like an ah sound, right? It's different.
And that's all part of it too, is that, like you're talking about, is that mouth posture and what you do with your mouth when you're doing a accent or anything really. Like, where are you placing your sound, and is it in your cheeks, in your nose, in your chest, wherever, and what are you doing with your lips, and there's a whole thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Smiling versus not smiling.
And we've got
like hello versus hello.
I've often had people say to me, not often, okay, once or twice, I'm exaggerating, are you from New Zealand? Because of the way I did the COVID check-in ads during the COVID time, and I would say COVID chicken, and it kept sounding like COVID chicken. And I would, you know, when you say something so many times that you start to go, wow, the word's crazy. But they're like, it sounds Kiwi. I'm like, what? COVID check-in? But it's a hard thing to say quickly if you've got 15 seconds to say it without making it sound like a chicken. Yeah, but I think the English, yes, it does come through.
Space it out, but trying to be quick with it is really, really challenging, And I said something the other day which sounded super wanky. I said arts grant. And I said it with like that posh thing, and I was just like, "Oh my God, Rachel, what is wrong with you?"
Keep it.
I'm just applying for my arts grant.
Say H and
arts grant.
Like you've got
I would
to
say grant and dance.
Dance.
Well, you would down here.
Album, not album.
Album. But often you have to do, for if you do a national ad, you just kind of clock some of the things they do. Obviously change, like graph or grant or
me off,
is it route, or is this something else? I don't know. There's a few of them. So you go, change that word.
Come into a branch for your chance to win.
Yeah,
you know, things
right.
like that. You know where you are. Well, you know where you're going to be, and a good artist will adapt to it. Like, you know, obviously we work in Adelaide, and I use a lot of Eastern States artists as well, and they will give me a chance or whatever. And I'm like, oh, do you think you could give me a chance instead? We're down here in Adelaide, and then they go, oh yeah, no worries. And the good ones will do it automatically. Yes. And that's probably like the top 5%. And then, you know, another sort of 30% will just go, yeah, no worries, and just nail it. And then there'll be like this whole bunch of people that just stumble every time. And I go, do you know what? You just say whatever you want to say. Like, it's fine. I'll live with it. It's fine. You know, because they just get to the point and they go, for your what do I say again? Yeah, and they don't know what they're doing. And I'm just like, okay.
Opportunity. Just change the damn word.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. Perfect.
Oh, gosh. That's crazy.
But we don't have a big sort of dialect change here in Australia. That's the difference, isn't it? Like, you know, in the UK, you know, you can pretty much dial them down to a suburb almost, or, you know, in the US, it's very different. Whereas here, it gets, like, as you move up the East Coast, the vowels get sort of flatter and that, but that's about it, like A, E, I, O, U. Do you do much of those sorts of accents?
Accents? I do I do more accent work than I do normal work, Aussie work.
Yeah, okay.
Because a lot of it, I mean, it's not necessarily exciting stuff, like Scottish, Irish, I get like French accents. I get
Give us your Scottish.
Russian. You're Scottish. Well, if you really want a nice whiskey, you got to go to Glenlivet whiskey. Well, it's lovely and soft and smooth.
Irish?
Just like my mother. If you'd like Kerry Gold butter, then you need to go to Kerry, right to the dairy where they milk the cows straight from the farm, churn the butter, put it straight into the packet or the tub or whatever you do. Absolutely.
Okay, Norwegian.
Norwegian.
Oh, here we go.
okay.
This is fun.
Norwegian. Okay.
I don't even know what it is. You can do whatever you like.
I'm so happy to be here with you today because we're really, really excited to be in the podcast studio with all of you. And it's pretty fun to, do a podcast with so many great people.
That's fantastic.
Kind of my general Scandinavian. I did live in Denmark for a few
there
years.
you go.
So, yeah,
See, that's so clever. Yeah, I find them so hard. How do you go about that? How do you go about like building up an accent like that?
I think, well, first of all, because being a singer, that probably helps with the ear listening. But I've always, ever since I was little, I'd always imitated. I think it's just listening and then doing it, copying all the time. Like you said, you're practicing, but you're putting the effort into doing it. Because I like to do it, so I would do it a lot.
Yeah.
So if I hear a person, I would just be mimicking them like we had old neighbours who were South African, so I'd speak to them and it was so thick that I'd go back home and be like for the rest of the night just speaking like them and to try and get the nuance, and I'm like, oh, how do they do it again? Then go back, or I watch a TV show and it's an Irish series, let's just say, and then I'll be sitting there copying them like how they're saying that, and I'll repeat the line over and over again, and where are they from and what part of Ireland are they speaking, and it's just that constant. I think I'm just a bit of a nerd for it, so
It sounds like it takes a lot of effort. That's the thing.
Yeah, but I like it, so I'm doing it without really.
I don't feel so weird anymore. Like I do that too.
Now I feel weird.
And
don't feel weird.
No, it's great. Like my husband just hears me doing all sorts of weird voices. Like I'll be washing my hands or doing an accent or doing a random Simpsons voice, and he's just like, "What are you doing now?" Like
You got to copy the people. It's just about people you meet, and the more people you meet, then you can just walk off and go, "Oh, that's one." That's a one for the. The wheelhouse, put it in the bank, like the woman at the gym that talks like this the whole time. She's like, oh, I had a great holiday. I've got another one booked coming up in September. And bloody Dale, I mean, he doesn't want to go. He doesn't even want to get his feet wet, So like, and the way she talks, and then she's like chewing gum the whole time, and she's like this, and just her whole body and her mannerisms. And I'm like, oh, she's a good one, So I'm like, put it in.
I imitate Geordie Shore a lot.
Woody Shore?
Geordie Shore.
Geordie
like
Shore.
instead of Jersey Shore. It's you've got Joycey Shore where they say NU and then Joycey like noisy, like New Joycey.
Yes. Yeah.
And
doing the hands.
Yeah, again the hands. You got to talk with the hands. And then you've got over in Geordie Shore though they say a variety of inappropriate things though, but they've got it's just so funny doing it in that Geordie accent as well.
So fun. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Newcastle, you're going to get done. It's just ridiculous.
You're hilarious. I love it. I think this has been such a random chat. It's been great. Thank you for listening to This Is My Voice, the podcast about all things voice performance with the world's best voice artists. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a review and don't forget to subscribe. This episode has been brought to you by the Australian Radio School and delivered to your ears by the Ozcast Network.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.